all about leading edge technology. I'm VP of Engagement, John Collins.
And I'm CTO Howard Holton.
And I'm Matt Jallo.
And this week, we'll try and cut through the jargon and give you what you need to make sense of it all, in this case being SaaS management. So let's do it. Hello, Matt. So tell us a bit about yourself and how you got to be here, I guess.
Yeah, thanks, John. That was a good intro. I liked it. It's quick and flashy. So I've been in computers, all my life, and my background was really more software development and architecture, and then went into solution architecture and eventually into enterprise architecture for about 8 or 9 years, and now doing some analysis for GigaOm. So yeah, that's my background. I've worked at I started a small company right out of college, then went to work as a software engineer at GoDaddy.com for a while, then went over to US Airways, eventually merged with American Airlines, and spent a long time there.
Oh, you're an American alumnus. We've done very well out of American Airlines at GigaOm, so appreciate you being here. And I think that the reason you're on is to talk about SaaS management. But before we get on to that, enterprise architecture for 8 years. I feel your pain, man. That must have hurt.
Yeah, my learning curve, and there's a tie-in actually with SaaS management, and maybe that's just because I have the EA on the brain, but there is actually, I think, a pretty significant tie-in between EA and SaaS management that we might see more of in the future. But I had kind of a reverse learning curve with EA. I was doing solution architecture basically, and the opportunity came up, and I kind of knew what EA was, but of course, before interviewing for the job, I did as much of a crash course as I could, and I was awfully skeptical of what EA is, what it's meant to do, and but over the years, I did start to see the genuine need and the value of making sense of the business processes and the business capabilities, and merging them together with IT, so that IT can be not just this cost or support center, but really drive its strategy forward. And I don't know, that's a tough nut to crack. It's definitely not cracked yet.
That Zachman guy's got a lot to answer for. That's all I'll say about it. And I'm only kidding. I used to be a business analyst. Well, amongst the many hats I've worn. So I completely get it. And if you don't have that connection, then you're just building things in the vacuum, aren't they? So it all makes sense. So what's the connection to SaaS management then? You build your own segue.
Well, one of the significant problems that or challenges, that we had in EA, and I know that this is common across EAs in any big enterprise, and that's where EAs are going to tend to be is big enterprises, but is in application discovery and making sense of the application portfolio. Surprisingly enough, there's the TOGAF 3.3 definition. What is an application? And it turns out to be a really tricky and critical definition. What is an application, and what applications do we actually have? Where they're running? Who's using them? It's gotten better with time, but that's still a problem. It's a bit of an unknown for any large enterprise. And SaaS management platforms, so at the outset, they provide some automated discovery, at least for SaaS, and beyond that, they provide new visibility into what business users actually want to use, what they are using, what they want to use, what they prefer to use, and what they need, that there currently isn't a technology solution available yet for them to use.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a wealth of visibility into, what into the application portfolio as it is, and kind of where it needs to go.
I guess it begs the question, Howard, where did it all go so wrong? Why are we lacking this visibility? What's the
I mean, I would say shadow IT is where it went wrong, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is SaaS became the default because it was easy and I didn't have to wait for IT. I could just do it, right? Whip out the corporate credit card and look at that. I've got a tool that I can use. It's not supposed to work that way, right? We're not supposed to support shadow IT, but shadow IT is a reality of the world that we live in, right? And I don't think we're necessarily going to get away from it. What we need to do is get our arms wrapped around it and figure out how to govern it.
I was going to say, because this is actually an issue to vendors as well. I spoke to a database vendor, and they said, yeah, we've got loads of organizations out there using our stuff. We've got loads of database instances. We just don't know where they are. We don't know who's using them. And when we go into an organization, you take a big bank or whatever, we've got lots of little pockets of people spending on us. So yeah, thousands of moments of use, if you like, but they can't wrap it with a bow. They can't put a corporate contract around it. They can't support it very well. So the whole thing's ended up like this massively distributed tactical deployment.
Disaster is a good word.
Right.
Well, because I mean, think about it. If you're someone like maybe Mongo, we'll just use them as an example. You go into an organization, you go, hey, we'd like to talk to you about getting you guys under an enterprise agreement. You have a few different instances of Mongo, and the VP of cloud services goes, no, we don't. We settled on insert name of competitor here. No, I promise. Like, I can show you the billing records, right? That's not an endearing conversation to have on either side.
Yeah.
Right.
And Howard, shadow IT, that's a topic that has come up in a lot of the discussions that I've had with vendors of SaaS management platforms, and so it is a problem. It's been a big problem for a long time, and it's also, but it's symptomatic of something more, deeper and more structural, that has been broken historically in how IT departments fit into the business. And most of the vendors that I spoke with, and when you go in and you see some of the new capabilities that are provided by these SaaS management platforms, they help to fix that problem in a more fundamental way, and so that the relationship between IT and the business is less where, we have our goals and our concerns, and as a result of enacting the controls and just doing the things that we need to do to make sure that we achieve these goals, we come off as the policemen that say, no, you can't use this, no, you can't use that, and locking everybody down. You can't visit that website, you can't visit this website, you can't use this operating system, et cetera, et cetera. It makes the divide even worse. IT in that sort of situation, continues to lose credibility and seem more and more out of touch with the actual value drivers in the business. And so, of course, anything you could do to kind of bridge that mend on a more fundamental basis, that problem starts to go away organically. It starts to go away on its own. And they had seen that. They had seen that happen actually in practice.
So you
sure,
mentioned
right?
this.
Being able to
Oh, sorry, Howard,
being
go
able
on.
to leverage tools that change the perception of IT is always good, right? For too long, IT thought friction was the job,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't just saying no; it was friction. Well, this isn't secure. Well, this doesn't match our governance. Well, this doesn't match our policy. Well, this doesn't, right? And what these tools do is they move the friction to be invisible and allow the business to operate while IT is able to maintain controls and IT is still able to do the things that IT is good at, but it makes it hopefully as invisible as possible.
Yeah.
I do remember working in IT management. It's massively frustrating when people are doing stuff they shouldn't. When you end up spending half your time wiping people's backsides because they've caused problems, and like dumping too much data into the network and then nothing runs, or installing things that make other things break, or whatever. And you kind of get into this mindset of tin pot generalism of just like everything's got to stop. I've got to lock it down because I can't stand it anymore. It's keeping me awake at night. So to take that problem away already is would be a major boon.
Yeah, and anything that we have at our disposal to less so. I mean, to some extent, this is necessary, but it's always nice if rather than setting up guardrails and controls and limitations, you can just enable the preferred path or method to be the easiest and the most effective and the go-to path for users in the first place. And that's a big goal with these management platforms. One example of that would be they all or most of them have some kind of variation of like your app store on your phone or tablet, but this is kind of an easy to use view of what software is available in our organization. So what do we already have licensed? What are we already integrated with? And even if we don't yet license this software or have any integration, this is what this software does, and then users can even express an interest in looking further into it and bringing it in. There are many instances where there's a dozen ways to skin a cat, and people might be familiar with one or two ways, but for whatever reason the preferred method is the third approach. Very often it's just a matter of publicizing, making that third approach visible, communicating, this is what it does. I think it does everything that you need. You can get set up for it today. What do you think? Oh yeah, sure. And just by moving that part up front, now and not starting off on the wrong foot and gaining that momentum and sunk cost on the wrong foot. Well, now, I mean, so many problems in the future have been obviated. So that's one example of how they do that.
I think so. I'm trying to get to. I mean, the first thing I can see, I'm going to make some stuff up, and then you can go, yeah, you got it completely wrong, or whatever. But yeah, the first thing that I can get out of these tools is you kind of captured it as visibility. So I can start to do some discovery. I can get a picture of what's out there, and so on and so forth. I'm imagining the next thing I can do is go, oh my God, I didn't realize that there were 350 people using this stuff. And then I can go out to them and find out that the 349 aren't. They bought it once and it's still kind of being subscribed to. So pretty quick, I could get a handle on some costs I could remove from the situation.
Yeah.
Would that be the next step?
You're exactly right, John. And I mean, this is I think that this is a very relatable situation or use case, although it's really just scratching the surface of the capability of these tools and where they're going. But we're probably all familiar with the emails you get every once in a while from the vendor management group saying, you haven't logged into this tool in 2.5 months. Are you still using it or not? And then another month goes by. You haven't logged into this tool in 3.5 months. If you don't log in or respond in the affirmative, then we're going to take your account off. And then 5 months later, you forget all about the email chain. Well, I don't know. Maybe some people are more on top of it than I am. But 5 months later, you've forgotten about the email chain entirely. You go to log in, and what the heck? I need to use this tool right now. What's going on? And so for a long time, that was a manual process to be able to stay on top of the pool of available licenses and to manage costs by keeping that pool as small as it could be. And then also it's a manual process. It takes a lot of time. And along with that, it's not always effective. It's not consistently, implemented 100%. But then beyond costs, there's the security impacts of that. And security is a real big topic, a real big tie-in with these tools, because a lot of the, as we know, in practice, a lot of the security vulnerabilities that are exploited in big companies, it's not the Hollywood, super hacker in a dark room, gets past 10 different firewalls sort of thing. It's a team of people on telephones that are just, tricking people, basically, taking advantage of dormant accounts or accounts that people, forgot that they had, or employees that have left the company, or they have access to applications or data they didn't even know they had access, but by virtue of some sign-on process they do. So they don't have any visibility. They don't have any visibility necessarily into what they're in that situation, and what their own accounts are doing, or what somebody might be using those accounts for. And so these solutions, they help tackle that too. And then they also
reducing the attack surface, basically.
Yeah. And also exposing additional data that can be then consumed through integrations with your APM tools and your security tools. Now they have access to new sources of data that may be relevant. Probably it could be valuable. Who knows? When not just what users have access to, but when they were enrolled, and
got it. Yeah. So
what their roles are, and whether or not this particular SaaS application that doesn't get a lot of visibility in the overall application platform, what sort of sensitive data does it actually deal in, or it's only a hop, skip, and a jump away from this application that is managing some kind of sensitive data. All of that data, it's a new path to source that data into security tools that have more heavyweight abilities to
you
make
find out that the CEO's got a personal account with Zapier, and it happens to plug into the CRM system and the HR system just because it made it easier that way. And the password is their cat. It's kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't sound likely at all.
Yeah. So this was the second version of this report, right? This is a V2 report.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say was the top kind of surprise that you found in going through this report? right? I'm sure going through the report, you expected a bunch of things to be in place. You expected some evolution to occur. You expected companies to come in. Maybe some companies left. What was the thing that surprised you in kind of going through the report research?
Well, I was surprised actually at the depth of capability in these tools, and you know, when I first started this report, I was really going into it fresh. Of course, I understand the problem that's trying to be solved, and you know, so many years in the IT departments of these big companies, you know, I'm kind of familiar with the processes in the space, but at the time, not familiar with all of the details of all the major tools, and the depth and comprehensiveness of these solutions surprised me, and they're continuing to grow, because this is an idea whose time has come. I mean, SaaS, of course, the last number I read was 60% of spend was SaaS, but the number doesn't even really matter. You don't need a weatherman to tell you which way the wind is blowing. I mean, SaaS is not
Yeah, it's certainly not going
away.
away.
It will only increase in popularity. And so all of the and then also maybe tying in with the depth of capabilities in these platforms, but as I just got to thinking about it, and EA is one example. It's like, hey, you know, this would go a long way to solving this problem and that problem and that problem. Topologically, these can there's a synergy here to do more than just streamline the vendor management process. This is a piece of a puzzle, part of the piece that makes a lot of our existing goals in IT better. I mentioned security. I mentioned EA, of course, cost management. They all integrate with.
So is there like a size of organization you'd recommend look at this? Do these things apply to most all sizes of organization? Like who's a good fit for purchasing SaaS management tools?
I would say generally medium and enterprises. Small businesses, you know, there's not a big barrier to entry in using these tools. I mean, a business of any size could I think fairly easily sign up and get their portfolio under management. It just becomes a question of, well, how many applications do you really have, and is it worth it for you? And you know, if I were to throw out a number, I mean, I think that if you have a person, a team of even one whose role or whose job it is to manage software as a service, then yes, definitely these tools will help.
And is the cost barrier for entry fairly low for the tooling?
Yeah.
Does it kind of scale with your organization pretty well?
It does. Yeah. And I think in most instances, this is the kind of tool where you have some kind of obviously initial expense up front in ongoing expense in the licensing and maybe in configuring and using the product. It's pretty easy to get up and running on them. You know, they have a quick time to value, but then in most cases, even if you were already running a pretty tight operation, I would think that you save as much money as you spend, or in many cases, you save much more than you spend.
Sure.
And then on top of that, yeah, and of course, so everybody makes that claim, but I think you would. I think most people would. You'd probably save more than you spend, and that's to say nothing though of all of these extra benefits that additionally getting the tighter
I was
security
thinking
footprint, the better user experience, all of these things, you know.
There's some soft benefits of the App Store bit, if you like, which, because I might spend half a day looking for another project management tool, for example, because just like what's new out there. But if I'm told, well, you can use one of these too, I'll go, which one's better? And it's that kind of the paralysis of choice thing starts to go away. So that's going to be restriction is a good thing from that point of view. Maybe that's my Tim Pot General speaking again.
No, well, no, you're right. And what a lot of these platforms enable you to do is to customize the experience of that app store, so that you could explicitly block visibility to applications or applications by name, or that have some set of attributes that tie into them just being non-starters. You could block them out from visibility entirely. You can limit it. You could configure it to just show me everything that does this, but prioritize it and bring the ones that we already have good support for and licensing established for up to the top. You could choose to show only the applications that you have licensing for. You could just show the one. It just send back one single answer every time.
Use this or speak to your director, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a final thought here. What advice would you give to organizations that are looking at kind of managing their SaaS portfolio, managing their SaaS estate, and getting their arms wrapped around it, right? If they're going to start down this path, what are kind of the 3 quick bullet points you would give as kind of a best practice in starting this journey?
Well, I guess reiterating my previous point is that although first and foremost, this is about cost management, and that's one of the benefits that you're going to reap immediately. Consider it in a broader context, and so in the conversations that you have in your department about going forward, be sure to bring in security. Of course, bring in the accounting or the financial groups that have a stake. Bring in some business partners and get their input on what kind of experience they will value. Bring in your identity management people. That's another big thing with these tools that we didn't talk about, but any company is going to have one or more main identity providers and preferred SSOs. And a lot of these tools now, it's like they might by default ask you to, they might do user authentication on a custom or proprietary basis, but they'll support Active Directory, or they'll support your Google sign-in or Okta or anything else. And just by guiding the user on that path, now they're leveraging Active Directory instead, and you're reaping all the benefits of that. So bring in a broad set of representation as you're getting into it and making the decisions, so that everybody's exposed to the opportunities that are available and that they all have input on it. I guess that'd be the big one. And then also identify, kind of have your, if you don't already feel like you have a good handle on your application portfolio and how it's managed, then that's going to require a lot of these tools are going to help tremendously, but it's a can of worms that was going to have to be opened eventually.
Sure.
And now you're opening them. So get ready.
What? Yeah, always like to end on a can of worms.
Well, dear audience, I hope this has been helpful. Matt, you've been a fantastic guest. We hope to have you back in the future. If anyone's got any other questions, check out our SaaS Management key criteria and radar at gigaom.com. As always, please like, subscribe, share, comment, and if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, reach out to John or I, and we will happily set that up. Thanks, everybody, and happy holidays.
You too. Thank you.